Are you obsessed or are you average? Hi, my name is Jacob Adams, and for over a decade or more, actually, I've helped leaders and athletes hit the next level of their performance and fitness goals. Have you ever had a struggle and a challenge with dealing with your ambition? Maybe not knowing how to harness it and guide it into targets, not only targets, but the targets that would maximize your fulfillment, your engagement, understanding, and joy. Have you ever had that challenge? Potentially even gone through breakups that you yourself were instigated because of lack of gratefulness, lack of awareness, self-awareness, lack of understanding, and having insecurities and the inability to be vulnerable because of lack of trust and stuff like this. Or maybe just a combination of all that plus wanting to have more hedonistic, fun, pleasurable times that you really couldn't decide what you wanted more. And so you just gave up on a relationship that was decent. And maybe that relationship that you got yourself in was one you settled in to begin with anyway. So it's so complex, your challenge and your problems. And you think maybe nobody could understand you. Have you ever had that problem? Have you ever had to get to a certain level of your life that you were grateful for and you loved and fulfilled you, and then maybe you understood that it wasn't quite all you needed, but you don't know what to do next? Have you ever had those kind of issues? Something like that? Maybe not knowing what exactly your purpose, your calling, your great contribution to society and mankind is. Have you ever had those problems? I know I have. Well, see, what happened with me is I started the concept of developing personal growth since 2001. So it's been about 16 years now. And my path started with people like Jim Rohn, Robert Kiyosaki, Anthony Robbins. And I thought I was doing pretty well. In 2012, I found myself going through my second breakup that was significant. What I mean by significant is I dated a few people, we never really were like steady. We're just sort of like dates and fun times, but two people by 2012 have been pretty significant in my life that stood out. And what I saw was a pattern as to how I started a relationship, did great for a while, and then after some years had racked up, then I had to deal with vulnerability, going deeper into the relationship, kids, marriage, the stuff that really, like, in a way, I was afraid of commitment, or maybe these people weren't the right ones. But how do you know? How do you know? And then I also wanted to date other people, so I didn't even know what to do then, because I want to say I do forever when I didn't really feel it, And so I was dealing with my second breakup for virtually the same reason. So I saw myself in a pattern. I was like, well, if I keep playing at this rate, I'm just going to keep doing the same things. So I found myself like sort of at odds, at a frustrating crossroads. And then I also, on the other side, I had my business that I was committed to, very committed, and great success had been occurring. I had my own CrossFit gym and my own fitness company, Evolution, like I told you about at the beginning. And things were doing good. I was having a lot of fun. I loved helping people. I think that was some of my most exciting parts of my day. Is just connecting and being involved in the workout, playing some great music and breaking some records. And that part was just, I was lit up with that. And then so here I was, sort of like this, I had my weaknesses, like all of us do. Leaders, though, we need to get rid of those weaknesses, or it eats us up, because we're obsessed. We're obsessed with our next level. We're not average. It's okay. You don't have to be average. It's actually a blessing or not. We're passionate. We know what we want deep within us, a feeling, something we felt joy to that degree, so we want to feel it again. So in 2012, I found myself at that crossroads, and I also said, well, I want to be a leader to another. I wanted my supplement sales company to go to another level. And I was like, well, what's it going to take? Why should I'm getting to this level, but I can't seem to go through it? And leaders, well, we know like this is what we want. We're not there, so what's missing? And if we can do something about it, we're going to do something about it. The only thing I could think of at that time with dealing with this breakup and this plateau in my business, I said, look, the only thing I could think of, like the only thing that I had not tried, was getting into spiritual growth, like to the next level. Like I already was praying every day. I had already taught like 500 yoga classes. I understood meditation and mindfulness, and I even understood all the philosophy behind it. I could intellectually carry a great discussion and even bond and have a great understanding of it. The only thing is this: in my deepest core, I don't think God was the king of my heart. You can think of that as a metaphor. You can think of that as, if you're a yogi like me, you likely know exactly what I'm talking about. And I was like, well, that's the only thing I haven't done, submitted in my heart completely and 100% and just giving complete control to God. Well, some people would say, well, God's always in control. Like, I'm just saying, like that inner submission, the inner, just complete. In many ways, I felt I was still in control on all levels. You see what I'm saying? And so for me, my battles were, for example, my girlfriend, who I broke up with around that time, I couldn't deal with her being in the Navy, 2,000 miles away. Maybe some guys were going to try to hit on her. I didn't like that. I didn't like what it meant for my ego, for my validation, for me to be this guy that was kind of going to get, be laughed at. That, my girlfriend's somewhere else having fun with other people, and I'm here, so far away, can't even be with her, And so, yeah, long distance relationships are stressful on a lot of people. I'm not saying that may change or it's going to change or anything. It's just as much as I didn't like that I was so vulnerable to my own weakness. I didn't like I was so vulnerable to vulnerability and not being able to be confident enough, sure enough in who I was and where I stood. And, so afraid of commitment on the next level. Now, looking back, I'm happy that relationship ended as well as it did. And I was able to go into the next level of my leadership and the next level of my self-excavation and development. So what happened? What actually happened? Well, I actually committed in 2012 to study meditation and embrace a path inwardly. I didn't start, wearing robes or anything like that. I just inwardly said, this is what I'm going to do. And I was good for about a month in 2012. And then sooner or later, I went back into like my old ways, meditation on the back burner. I'm going to get to it. I never did. It wasn't until 2 years later where I'm going through now this relationship. Fun, romantic, passionate, just also toxic. It had its downside that was pretty significant, very significant. And there I was hitting these very low points in that romantic relationship, and I needed out, and I couldn't get out. I was sucked into it. I was sucked into it. If you're dealing with a toxic relationship and you can't get out to save your life, just know, as someone that considers himself strong, resilient, had everything going together for himself, I know what that can do. And I know it's so hard sometimes when you're caught in your own misery that you created. And you should get out. But you don't. You stay. Man, I don't even have the words for it. It's one of the big reasons that I'm doing this course. It's because I'm on the back end now where I feel great. It just took so much soul searching. So in 2014, one of my mentors from the past emails me. He says, do you want to be a best life artist? And I say, yeah, of course, duh. Because my life wasn't in shambles. It was just it had its very rough patch in the back end. I was showing up to clients, just sometimes people say, "Are you okay, Jacob?" Because my heart was kind of going through a lot of stuff. And I said, "Okay, well, of course I want to be the best life artist." Because it was like, "Well, do you want to leave behind where you're at and go to the next?" I was like, "Yes, please, please." And so as soon as that took place, I made a commitment, and it wasn't long before my mentor helped me dig deep into what I was really after. And throughout my entire life, I've seen a theme of wanting this understanding. And I'm going to use the word enlightenment only because I have no other word to quickly convey to you what I was after. And enlightenment came out in some of my research with my mentor. And I was like, so here I was 2012 committing to meditation. And here I was in 2014, completely two different conversations. And this mentor is helping me in what comes up out of these, you could say a test that I'll help you take. It's meditation and enlightenment. And I'm like, I can't ignore this forever, dude. Like here I was again trying to, even though I committed, 2 years had gone by and I was avoiding it. I was like, all right, enough. I mean, like, okay, well, there's obviously nothing I can do to, what was I gonna do? Spend the next 2, 3, 5, 10 years avoiding this, and what if the next person came up and they're like, meditation? And sure enough, and later people are like, that's the right track for you. And it kept coming out, and I was like, oh, no, I'll do it. Like, so I'm one of the people that embrace meditation, kicking and screaming. I'd already taught 500 yoga classes, and I don't feel too bad because they actually said the Dalai Lama has actually been quoted as saying he's not very good at meditation. So apparently it's a difficult thing to do. Anyway, so that's what ended up happening. And I wrote a book called Your Divine Romance, Bold Action, Meditation, and Pure Love. And then I moved to Austin in 2015. And I went through my journey, my search, my journey. All that happened in 2015 is I stayed single. I committed to staying single and developing the relationship with myself. That's what Your Divine Romance is about. It's about that relationship with yourself. By the time 2015 came, 2015 was a year of peace for me. Such a year of peace. For a while, I stopped training with as many people. I just kept it to a few people. My supplement sales company was growing on its own, and there I was searching for my inner truth, my inner peace. And, well, eventually 2016 came around, and by that time, I had more direction. I knew it was time for me to pick up my post as a leader of my supplement sales company, the one in 2012. Here it was growing without me engaged fully, and it's growing. And I feel that God at that point says, look, emotionally, and my sister's doing better, my family's coming together, they're healthier, and to me it spoke volumes. It was like God was saying, look, this is your destiny. This is what you need to do. And so 2016, I recommitted deeper to the next level of leadership. And sooner or later, another mentor enters the picture. And as is standard with these kind of things, the enter the teacher moment, which is famous. And this is probably one of your enter the teacher moments. Anyways, we're in 2016 now. I already have my goals. I already have my 3 awesome goals that I'll tell you about in a bit. And I'm like, this is what I'm about. And then 2016 comes, and my mentor, the new mentor, comes in, and he's like, dig deeper. I'm like, and I'm just like all about digging deeper into purpose now, right? Like it doesn't stop. I've come a long way from that kid that needed to chill out on the weekends and have beer with his girlfriend. I don't have a girlfriend. I don't drink on the weekends, and it's pretty much all about purpose now. And here we are. I've created this course. I'm doing online training now for the philosophy. And some would say, why? Why, Jacob? Well, see, for 16 years, personal growth has been my personal study. And it's what has made me a great trainer. Because beyond the science of muscle growth and strength, I've understood the art and beauty of the inner spirit and soul. And that's where I was able to make a big difference with my clients. People that I looked right in the eye, sometimes that were looking to get gastric bypass, for example, and I said, look, you could take those $5,000 and get that surgery, or you could take that same money and buy the best food for yourself and love yourself, nourish you, nourish yourself. This person went on to make lose about 100, 130 pounds in the course of 4 years. Nothing fast, but they kept it off. This was a long time ago. One of my friends, Drew, we started talking in 2014, around the same time I wrote my book. He wanted to take on a marketing career, and together we've been talking for 2 years. He's gone from making $0, and Drew, I'm happy to be one of your first clients, or your first client, right? And he went from making $0 a year to now we just talked. He goes, Jacob, I just made my first $10,000 in a year. In other words, in 2016 collectively. I'm like, man, you're doing it. You're awesome. And through that, he's had to face his harshest critics, family members, people that don't believe in him. And this guy's got a master's degree in speech, and he's committed to his dream. And he's there, right? My friend Ariel, who's taken the course and with evolution, and she's now I can sense her focus and her maturity. She got a new job, right? And I'm just like, wow, like I see it happening, and she's starting to hone in on her mind frames and her mindsets. And that's my friend Ariel. People like Jimmy, who at the beginning of the year said, Jacob, I'd like to help you with your videos. I'm like, great. And now we're delving deep, and Jimmy helps me edit with evolution, and he's lost 20 pounds with the supplement cells. And so my own sister, who I'm so proud of, that she's become a leader, a yogi of sorts, in by her own search. Like, no one told her to do that. She's just becoming such a better leader. I saw a picture of her the other day on Facebook where she's just planting a tree, and she's owning that, and she's just in a state of service. And for me, it was one of the most beautiful pictures I've seen of my sister ever. I've dealt with people I've coached people that they've gotten at high levels with their diet, and they look so sexy. And I've helped them, and then they'll go into a toxic relationship, and I've seen and I've understood now, like, Jacob, your work is now not only the body. Your work now is that last landscape of human evolution, is the mind and consciousness. That's where your work is now, Jacob, as well. Developing stronger, smarter, passionate leaders. The end game was always to be where I'm at now with you, talking about these deep inner victories that we have to have in order to embrace fulfillment and just sell out to our purpose, embrace destiny, just function on all of the levels. That's always been my goal. I just didn't know when or how it was going to happen. This video is just an invite so that we can begin, you and I, to start that self-excavation process so that you too can have your let's do it moment. Will it be easy to do this? Of course not. Well, you see, in the old world, like before this moment here, before my 2012 moment, there was, people believed in, it was kind of like the hip hop era, like the bling bling, having, bitches and TVs and all this kind of thing. And that was the thing. Like, it was the way it was in the early 2000s. And we looked for these external validations as a way to validate who we were as people, as souls. That's what we did. And, that sort of been the way it was then, Can you measure up to this, like, marketed ideal of this is what a person is when they're successful? Like, you basically, like, you're Hugh Hefner. your Donald Trump, your people that, say like these things, and they kind of rub it in your face, like on some levels, or they're the center of attention. And that's was success in the early part. Most of, from the 80s on to now, there's been a level of that. The new world, though, the new world, I see a level of transparency, character, development, being a true servant of people in order to establish real self-esteem that doesn't need external validations. At least not as much. I mean, to be fully transparent, I mean, we all need some level of acceptance from our external peers, right? From the marketplace. We need a job of some sort, or a career, or some kind of something contribute to, even if we're contributing to soup kitchens, that's our thing. Like, and it's just, we're accepted there. Like, we are built to serve and share. But that service and sharing has to be real and sincere now. It can't be about the validation. And that's where the new world is. That's where the highest levels of humanity are functioning at now. That's where leadership is. Having a servant's heart, sacrificing, having self-control, and committing to vision and purpose, and just selling out passionately, obsessing about that level of being. So, what do you want to do now? Well, look, if you do nothing else, right here, set up 3 goals based on what you need to embrace and improve your self-love, your leadership, your purpose and vision. Set up 3 goals based on that. Just keep it to 3. For me, I'll tell you my 3. It's meditation. Obviously, you've heard why. This year in 2016, it was just meditation. It was also improving my fitness, because fitness is such a big part of who I am, my identity, my values, and my business. And also, it was to reach out and serve as a mentor and a coach to people just like you, who, like me, have gone through a certain level of success already, but are looking for that next level to sell out to go ahead and leave the reservations behind. So that was my 3. And now it's time for you to make your 3. If that's all we do is create your next 3, that's perfectly fine. So, and then formulate some strategies that you can implement immediately today. Now, be patient in what you're doing, because you're going to experience doubts. So you got to keep going and face those doubts. Be patient and know that as you begin on your 3 goals that are higher or more ambitious than where you're at right now, it may ask you to go through some pitfalls. And so here's some common pitfalls, and here's your do's and your don'ts. Do surround yourself with people that are positive and supportive of a mindset. Look to see, you may not be able to just ask them, but you, like my friends, I could straight up ask them, do you respect to the philosophy of a mindset? And if because I'm at that level now where I can have those friendships, right? Drew calls me and goes, Jacob, I just made my first big deal and I've made $2,000 on it. He goes, it's all about mindset. You see what I mean? So we can have that conversation. But if you're just starting out, you may not be able to just go up to somebody and say, mindset, where do you stand with that? But I've created enough of this in my life where I can say, hey, look, where do you stand with mindset and the philosophy of mindset? So do be around people that help you cultivate and manifest the mindset you're at. And then don't be around people that don't, because these people, you have to understand, they a lot of times are competing against you, or they are also their own worst enemy and don't necessarily like people that make them look at their own insecurities and vulnerabilities. So you have to avoid people like this. Okay, so either your do's or your don'ts. Surround yourself with the top 5 people. You're going to hear that a lot, especially in this space. You've probably heard that already. Here, I'm telling it to you again. Surround yourself with the 5 people that you really want to be around. Handpick them, write them down, write their names down, and harness your energy around those people. Don't. And it's definitely maybe write down the 5 people you want to avoid. You'll probably have 5 as well. do do take care of your body with water, exercise, and proper nutrition. Eating more at home, or making sure you're eating things that are lower in things that are going to put on weight around the midsection, because that's going to slow you down. So you're definitely going to want to look at your health and fitness as a very important variable to your leadership. Okay? So you have your goals, you have your idea of your fitness, and then you know that you got to surround yourself with people. Those are 3 ideas for you that you can implement right away that are very simple to move you forward. Okay? Now, the last thing I want to do is allow you to see a lecture that I myself made for you. All you have to do is give your name and email to the form below, and you're going to see a lecture that I made for you that came from one of my mentors, and you're gonna love this. The mentor is a world-renowned author and speaker, and he taught it to me, and I'm teaching it to you. So I know it's going to deliver. And then if you want my book, I'll be sure to give that to you too. I'm just going to make it audible so you can get that. But for now, I'll leave you with just the lecture. Go ahead and opt in there, and it's right here below. I look forward to seeing you on the other side. I look forward to your leadership, to your development, selling out to your purpose. And if you watched it, you're clearly obsessed with your best, and that's exactly where you want to be. Let's do it. Remember, be obsessed, don't be average, as Grant Cardone says, and let's get to it.